Hello everyone, welcome back to Tartan Samurai Gaming. And now we are playing Streets of Rage 3, but perhaps not as you know it. We are playing the Japanese version, which has its, shall we say, a few unique qualities that are missing in the version you might have played in the US or in the UK as a kid. For starters, the game opens with the entire city being bombed. So a tad melodramatic, and then we get this Rambo style intro from Axel. And in Japan the game was called Bare Knuckle 3, so there you go. But you know, the options and everything else are as we remember them. We'll have difficulty on normal, but we'll set players to 5 because, you know, I don't mind a challenge, but I don't want it to be unreasonable. So okay, and we'll go one player. And to start off, let's go with Axel. Oops. Oh, I forgot. In the Japanese version, if you hit B, it takes you out of the menu. So, loosely translated, there's a bomb about to go off, and they've just managed to stop it in time. But this is a different plot from what they had in the European version. I'm saying 3 seconds later, and everything would have been blown to bits. But they're saying we need to get Adam because he might know how to take down the syndicate. So there are other bombs that have to be defused. And so we begin round 1. Interesting that in the Japanese version it's called round 1, whereas in the European and US version it was called stage 1, which was in keeping with the convention set by Streets of Rage 2. Whereas in Streets of Rage 1, in all regions, it was called round 1, 2, 3, etc. Notice also that the female enemies here are showing a bit more skin than they did in the European version, or the American version. Not really a big difference, but, you know, slightly more. And their stance is a bit more kind of provocative as well. So, yeah. I don't really think it makes much difference either way, to be honest, though. I mean, and Axel uses the same dialogue there, Grand Upper, as he does in Streets of Rage 2, whereas, again, in the American European version, he would shout, I think, bare knuckle as he did that move. So, there's some subtle differences, and also the colouring as well. He's wearing the same colours as before, whereas in the European version he would have been yellow. So all the characters have different colour schemes here as well for some reason. I don't quite know why that is, but anyway. So we're just making our way through the level here. As I said, in the same with Streets of Rage 1 and 2, those guys with the knives, take them out as soon as you see them because they are nasty. Also, these guys with the guns are called like gold, silver, bronze, etc. But in the European version they had names like MacLeod and Macduff and kind of vaguely Scottish sounding names for some strange reason. But in Streets of Rage 4, when they brought that type of enemy back, they gave them the gold and bronze and silver names, same as this version of the game. So. Now, in a minute, we're going to fight a sub-boss who is entirely missing from the European version of the game. I think you could still play as him if you had one of those Game Genies or Action Replays, but otherwise he was inaccessible. And I'll explain why when we get to him. So that guy in the purple there, that's Ash, the sub-boss who we will fight in a minute. Axel's kicking has been slightly improved from Streets of Rage 2. His jumping and kicking is a bit better than before. So yeah, Streets of Rage 3 was a game I didn't play anywhere near as much as I played Streets of Rage 2 back when I was younger. I just always felt that Streets of Rage 2 was the better game. It just felt like more fun, the music was better. I don't know, it just felt like a better game, but Streets of Rage 3 is technically, you know, it's superior, but I don't know, just Streets of Rage 2 has a charm that Streets of Rage 3 somehow couldn't quite recapture. Not really sure why, just one of those intangible things, you know? So, we are moving on now, and I think the boss is going to fight us momentarily. Yeah. He's going to send a couple more goons after us first. Okay. Here he comes. So this is Ash. Now, he is obviously, as you can see, a gay stereotype. Very, very bad gay stereotype. But the character was actually modelled on a Japanese TV personality stroke comedian at the time who went by the name of Hard Gay. And he in turn was like a parody of like one of those sort of you know, like the guys that you would see in the scene in the Blue Oyster Bar, the Police Academy movie. That was basically, he was parodying them, and now Streets of Rage 3 is parodying him. So Ash is basically a parody of a parody, which is explains why he looks so ridiculous. Now, if we hold down a couple of buttons after we beat him, that means that when we continue, we should be able to unlock him as a playable character. And he is very powerful, so, you know, it might be useful, but hopefully I don't need to use any continues. I'm not planning on losing any continues, but we'll see how we go. The Japanese version is a lot easier than the European version because it was not designed to try and discourage rentals. I mean, that's the thing, like, rental stores are still a thing in Japan to this day, so video game rental, I don't know if it was ever really a big deal over here. Movie rental is still a big deal, but game rental not so much, so I don't think the Japanese market had the same... Well, if they had the same concern, they didn't have the same attitude to dealing with it as the US and the UK did in terms of making games deliberately more difficult to beat in a weekend. So this is Shiva, who you might remember as the sub-boss of the final level in Streets of Rage 2. And again, once we beat him, he will become playable. If we hold down, I think, A, B, and C once we beat him. A, B, C, and start, maybe. I don't know, I'm just going to mash all the buttons and hopefully that does the trick. There's actually a total of, well, there's 2 characters you can unlock in the European American version, and there's 3, including Ash, in the Japanese version. Shiba is quite a tricky customer, as you can see. There we go. And he's down. So, round 1 is clear. So they're saying, where do we go next? And Zan is suggesting they go to the disco. Nightclub, I suppose, but the Japanese said disco, but you know what I mean. Apologies, I can only read about maybe 60% of that Japanese. Some of it is kind of hard to read for me, unfortunately. I am not fluent. I can speak the language, but I wouldn't call myself fluent. So I'm doing my best with this here. Apologies, guys. Tricky language to learn, Japanese, because there's, well, I guess a bit like English in the sense that there's about 8 or 9 different ways of saying the same thing in so many instances. But anyway, we're getting off topic. Back to beating down the bad guys. Now, at the end of this level, at the end of this section of the level rather, we will have the chance to unlock our next secret character. I will say is the music is better than I remember it. I remember the music, in my opinion, being a major step down from Streets of Rage 2, but it actually doesn't feel that bad. Maybe this is, I don't know, somehow enhanced by emulation or whatever, I don't know, but it definitely doesn't sound as bad as it did in the, back when I played it on the Mega Drive back in the 90s. Still not a patch on the Streets of Rage 2 soundtrack though, let's be clear, that's arguably the greatest gaming soundtrack of all time. Right, now, here, this kangaroo is being sent to attack us. But what we don't want to do is, we don't attack the kangaroo, we attack the clown instead. Because, you know me, I'm all about opposing animal cruelty. So we don't hit the kangaroo. Now the kangaroo is called Victi in this version of the game, but he was called Roo in the European and American version. Oh dear. That's alright though, we'll soon get that life back. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Right, clown is down, the kangaroo runs away, and we'll be able to play as him later on if we want to. Now into the nightclub. I think the lighting effects here are a bit more intense than they were in the European version as well, because maybe I should put a photosensitive epilepsy warning on this. I don't know, this is a bit extreme, isn't it? Yeah, this lighting is definitely different from the version that I remember playing. Don't know how it was in the American version, but this is definitely different from the European version. See, the reason why the soundtrack for this game is so different from Streets of Rage 2 is that, you know, Yuzo Koshiro himself talks about it. He was going through an experimental phase in music at that point. He wanted to try different things and using different synthesizers and things like that. And his collaborator, I think, Daichi Kawamura, I think his name is, was also into that. He wanted to try new things as well, because they'd had 2 successful games by this point, so they were given a bit of leeway to experiment. And you know, you can argue whether it worked or not, but it's definitely a unique soundtrack, no denying that. But as I say, I still greatly prefer Streets of Rage 2. Both in gameplay and in soundtrack, if I'm being honest. See, the Electra enemies here have brought back that same annoying trait that they had in Streets of Rage 1, where sometimes when you hit them they'll go down on their knee for a time being, and it slows down the fight. Oh, they're also dressed in kind of a swimsuit, whereas they wore like full clothes and jeans in the European version, so another subtle difference. These two are also a reworking of a boss from Streets of Rage 1, where they were basically clones of Blaze, although this time they have their own unique moveset. One of them is called Onihime, which loosely translates to Demon Princess, so... The other one's called Yasha. I have no idea what that means. It sounds vaguely Russian, but I don't know. Oh, these two also have the ability to tech their way out of throws, so be aware of that too. Mistime my attack. There we go. Oh, not quite. One major difference from Streets of Rage 2 is that you're able to run in this version of the game. You couldn't do that in Streets of Rage 2. Oh, might be losing another life here. This is starting to feel a bit stressful. This always was a difficult boss fight though. Thankfully we're not on a timer here, which was quite frustrating in Streets of Rage 1 for this battle. And again, when you get down to only one of them left, it's a lot easier. One more hit should do it. There we go. And level 2 is clear. Or round 2 I should say is clear. And there's a note left behind for us. What does it say? That if you want to meet, come to the K building, whatever that is. So, if you remember, in the European version and American version of the game, you had to rescue the police chief. In this, it's a Russian general by the name of General Petrov, who has been kidnapped, and Axel is the prime suspect in his kidnapping. So something's not right here, because we know our Axel wouldn't do that. So you're going to watch out for the falling barrels in this level. The good thing is they can hurt the enemies as well as you, so if you time it right, they can actually be an advantage like that. So wait till the barrel drops, and then punch it across the screen, and you'll take out any enemies that are in its path. Okay, onward. I do like levels with pits in them where you can just throw the enemies down. Helps to keep the screen clear. Oh, that's nice. There is something uniquely satisfying about pulling off a grand uppercut and just knocking somebody right off the ledge with it. Of course, just beating them down the old-fashioned way is fun too. This is Streets of Rage after all. You gotta be careful there, because if that barrel hits you, it's gonna knock you off the level, and you will drop health. It's not quite as punishing as Streets of Rage 1. You don't lose an entire life for falling off the level, but you will drop, I think, about a third of your health bar, maybe half your health bar. It depends on the difficulty level, I think. Oh, you can roll in this game as well by double tapping the up and down directions. I just realised that there, I'd forgotten about that. Okay. Thought that was this section clear, but I guess not. Still a bit more to do. Oh, she's fast. A mini boss of sorts, I think. Uh-oh. Okay, yeah, so it's about a third of your energy bar that you lose if you get knocked off the level. So now we know. And knowing is half the battle, as they say. Right, there we go. We're clear. Now this is fun. This is the you're being chased by that digger there, and what you have to do is regularly hit it to knock it back and stop it from coming after you. Now this is slightly easier because in the Western version you had to do a combo on the machinery to make it retreat, whereas here you only have to hit it once. So we're almost clear here. But the trade-off is that although it only takes one punch to knock it away, it does seem to come back a bit more quickly. So you've got to be ready for it. Last wall here. And there we go. And a barrel takes him out, and we're clear. Now on to the obligatory elevator section. Because every beat 'em up has to have an elevator section, as you know. It's just the rules. There's a chick in there, but I'm going to put off collecting it for as long as possible. Yes, I did accidentally pick that up there as I was moving in to get the enemy, but that's okay. Ah, that's nice too, when you can take out multiple enemies with a single throw. Just little things like that, which are just, you know, simple gameplay mechanics, but they feel so satisfying to pull off. You'll also notice that, unlike Streets of Rage 2, you don't drop weapons when you use a grab attack. That was a one of the few criticisms that players of Streets of Rage 2 had was they didn't like the idea that you had to put down your weapon in order to grab an opponent. So that was removed for Streets of Rage 3. Okay, and we head up again. I think we're only one level away from the top now. Yep, here we are. And Axel has a rather nasty surprise here waiting for him. It's another Axel, although he's wearing blue gloves instead of red. So he's called Break. Axel and Break, of course, yes, because Axel would be, yeah, they're both car parts. I see what they're going for there. Not bad considering I don't drive. Although wouldn't Break be spelled with a A-K-E in the case of a car? I don't know. Anyway, not important. You notice he gets redder as we come close to defeating him. Common trope of bosses in arcade games. And certain console games too. Ooh, yep. We can still tech throws, that's good. Ooh, he got me there. Definitely the damage scaling is a lot less severe here than it is on the Western version. Because, you know, I'm not taking anywhere near as much damage as I should for these attacks. But I'm not complaining, because I thought Streets of Rage 3 was a bit too difficult to begin with anyway. And I still beat it eventually, but it was not as fun as Streets of Rage 2. Some of the difficulty just felt very, you know, a bit mean-spirited in the sense that it was just difficulty for difficulty's sake. Right, one more hit. Come on now, Axel. Let's get the job done. There we go. So, level 3 is clear. And it was a robot all along. A robot, he says. So they're asking Dr. Zan, does he know about this? And he says, yeah, he's familiar with the technology. It's the Syndicate that have done it. Yeah, a bit of background story. Dr. Zan was working for Mr. X, the main bad guy, before he turned good. So, yeah, I think that's a common thing across both versions of the story. Now, this level, there are train cars that periodically come along and will try and knock you down. But in this version, the track vibrates shortly before the train comes, giving you a chance to get out the way. There's a much shorter window of a much shorter escape window in the European and American version. So that's a bit easier as well. Just generally, this is it's easier, but it's also just a much more enjoyable game to play because the difficulty doesn't feel so forced. I think is the best way to put it. Streets of Rage 3, the Western version, definitely suffered from a forced difficulty curve. Again, you see there the opponent's doing that old trick of trying to get on both sides of you for an attack there. So I think these enemies were only in Streets of Rage 3. Don't think that. Although a version of them does appear in Streets of Rage 4, but the design has changed and they attack mostly with kicks and they walk around with their hands in their pockets. Which is an interesting mechanic, to be sure. I like Streets of Rage 4, and I think it's a very good game. See, if you time your slam there, the train will go right through you. It's difficult to pull off, and I'll be honest, that was more down to luck than design, but it does work. But as Bruce Lee would say, the best way to avoid getting hit is to not be there. Same goes for trains as it does for fists. Just got out the way in time there. Yeah, the enemy count is definitely starting to stack up a little bit here as we get further into the game. I mean, we are on the 4th level now, so it should be at the point where it's starting to get a little bit more difficult. Okay, almost done. And moving on. Oh, that was nice and convenient. And of course, typical gaming trope, there is the health pickup right after you've lost a life. Some things never change. But we'll leave it there for now because we're going to fight quite a few enemies here, I think. So we want to keep the health pickup for when we need it. Oh, excellent. Okay. Oh, managed to jump over that there. I didn't know you could do that. Okay. Now this part, we want to fight these ninjas, but these ninjas are a bit smarter, because what they will do is they will actually jump up and avoid the trains as they come in. So, yeah. They'll jump onto grab onto the guardrails up above. Most of them will. Some of them won't. Okay. Moving on. These guys are a bit smarter. They're able to avoid the trains better. Oh, katana. Sorry, kotetsu, I should say. I think a kotetsu is basically a katana with a slightly shorter blade. Feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I think that's what it is. You notice that these ninjas are all named after actors You know, Kosugi there as in Sho Kosugi, who did a lot of ninja movies in the early 80s. And then there's Mifune as in Toshiro Mifune, who was in quite a few of Akira Kurosawa's films. Chiba as in Sonny Chiba, another famous star of various martial arts movies. Okay, I think we're clear now. Ah, not yet. Still a couple more. And these ninjas have definitely become far more sophisticated in their attacks than they were in Streets of Rage 2. Definite leveling up there. Okay, Chiba is almost down. And he's down. We'll just get out of the way of this last train. And then we can go forward. Alright, boss time. And that symbol there will be familiar to anybody who's ever played Shinobi. That is the Shinobi kanji. But these are more sort of samurai looking, these enemies that we're fighting here. I think drawing at least a little bit of inspiration from Sodom, the final fight, and Street Fighter character. Although unlike him, these guys actually seem to be competent samurai. That's one down. The key here really is patience, because you have to just wait for him to commit to his attack and then counter. You can't just go in and if you try and fight him head on, he'll just either throw shurikens at you or he'll do that. But the opportunities to counter will present themselves if you're patient. Like so. Now one thing I noticed, it's a lot harder to connect with your special attacks here than it was in Streets of Rage 2. Not quite sure if that's a choice for the sake of making the game more difficult, or if they felt that the special moves were overpowered maybe, I'm not sure. But I'm definitely not connecting as cleanly with my special attacks as I did in Streets of Rage 2. Okay, second one's down. This one is actually easier to deal with because you notice that his style, he kind of stands back and lets you hit him before he launches into an attack. But then he goes a bit Super Saiyan when he's almost beaten. Yeah. Still not that difficult though. So we move on to level 5. So we're in what appears to be the Syndicate headquarters. Axel's having a flashback to the opening of the game when much of the city was destroyed by the bomb. Yeah, a lot more traumatic, this story, than it was in the Western version. On to the next section. Oh, and there's an extra life. But funnily enough, the extra life icon is Adam from Streets of Rage 1. Not quite sure why that is, but there you go. He does make a cameo appearance later on in the game, so... There we go. So the purple one is a sort of a sub-boss here. He's got much more health than the other two, so we want to concentrate on him. Of course, if you can use one enemy to hit others, then that's always welcome. That's a good thing about Axel's Dragon Punch. It is a great way to just end enemy counters before they start. Of course, you lose a little bit of health, but you'll lose a lot more if you take a full combo from an enemy, so... Oh yeah, you can't throw the big guys anymore. That's a throwback to a throwback, pun unintended, to Streets of Rage 1, where if you tried to slam those big fellows, you would end up taking damage because they would basically fall on you. So we can't throw. We can still grab them, but we can't throw them anymore. Yeah, for all this was, you know, the sequel to Streets of Rage 2, it does have a lot of callbacks to Streets of Rage 1 that were actually missing in Streets of Rage 2, you know, not being able to throw the big fat guys, weapons not disappearing when not dropping rather when you grab an enemy, you know, various things like that. The female whip enemies and their tendency to take a dive, you know, it's just little touches that showed you they were, you know, the programmers were still thinking about number 1 when they were creating number 3, which is it's good. It's good to have that continuity in video games, especially at a time when, you know, storytelling was kind of a side issue rather than a main aspect of gameplay. Making good progress here. We're about to go into another elevator level, which is stylistically very similar to the final level from Streets of Rage 2. A clear homage. You'll see what I mean in a second once we get in there. Okay, he's down. And on we go. So yeah, it's basically a reuse of the same background from Streets of Rage 2. Because it is going to lead up to Mr. X's office. So there is that. So you're having a kind of a sort of a mini boss rush here. Not a boss rush as such, but like going through all the different enemies that you've defeated thus far. This is a kind of a refresher course, I suppose. So each level we fight a different type of enemy. Although this level just seems to be a mix, so I guess what I was saying might have been nonsensical. Apologies. Remember kids, throwing knives is bad. Don't do it unless you're playing a video game. Or you're working in the circus, you know what I mean? Whatever. Oh, she's got quite a high health pool for such a small time enemy. Okay. Okay, and we move on up. And there he is, Mr. X. He's saying it's going to be fun. Right. Sorry, I can't read that kanji, I'm afraid. So we're now replaying the final boss from Streets of Rage 2. But with a twist that will be revealed momentarily. So this is actually a kind of a blending of the last boss stage from Streets of Rage 1 and 2. Because Streets of Rage 1, you were fighting at the top of a skyscraper, very similar to that background. Whereas number 2, it was an office building, but it was daytime and it wasn't that high up. So, kind of a mixing of the two here. But I think it's pretty clear that this is not the last boss because we're only at level 5. Okay, one down, and one almost down. And now she's down, okay. That wasn't Mr. X, it was a robot all along. So, Robo X. So where is the real Mr. X? Well, all will be revealed in due course. And actually, this is the point at which the story of the Western version and the Japanese version diverge quite a bit after we beat this boss. But I'll explain that in a minute once we get to it. Might end up dropping another life here, but we'll try not to. There we go. Robo X is down. So round 5 is clear. So Mr. X is now communicating via the robot, but he's not there. So he says that he is going to release poison gas, and he's going to kill General Petrov, which will in turn start a massive war, because, you know, killing a top Russian diplomat is not going to go down well. So you see the timer on the wall there, that counts down as the level goes on. We only have a set limited time to find and rescue the general. Although again, I think the time here is a bit more generous than it is in the Western version. These sort of mini Ed 209 type robots are basically a reworking of the level 7 boss from Streets of Rage 2. Okay, so we want to head down. There we go. Now a couple of these gold guys here. The lumber's just about broken, so let's just throw it at one of them. Gold and silver there, yeah. If we go in here, okay, not much in here of any use. Yeah, these things on the floor are a little bit annoying. Okay, I'm gonna have to go get the chicken now. Definitely need the chicken now. There we go. Okay. Okay, almost done. Okay, it's down. bring us back into this room. But again, we're going to have to knock out another couple of bad guys in order to open up the doors again. So there are 3 different doors here in total, and I can't remember which one we have to open, but I'm sure the solution will present itself in a minute. So let's go to the 3rd one along, see what's in here. Okay, just lots of bonuses by the looks of it. No bad thing. Oh, extra life. So we'll try the middle door now. We've tried left and right, let's try the centre. Right, there's a generator to smash up, so that's gonna have some kind of impact. Notice as well that when that blue meter that says OK at the top, when that is full, you can use one special attack and not drain any of your health. But if you use another one while that is still charging, you will lose a little bit of health. So it's a trade-off. Okay, now we want to smash up this, whatever it is. Switch number 1. Right. So switch number 1 is down, which I think allows us to access over here. Yes. But the general is still behind that wall, so we have to go to the next level in order to rescue him properly. So once the timer hits 0, the general's going to start losing health. So we've got to act quickly here. Right, there's generator number 2, or switch number 2, or whatever it's called. With the second switch down, I think we should be able to go and rescue the general and get the good ending of the game. Yeah, so as I said at the end of level 5, once you beat Robo X, the plot changes quite a bit. So basically what happens is, if you fail this mission, you would then have to go to the White House for the final level. Whereas in the European port, it wasn't the White House, it was just a generic, I think it was like City Hall you were supposed to go to, because you had to, Right, so let's go up and rescue the general. See, this gas is affecting Axel's health as well as the general's, so there we are. Got the general rescued. So he's talking about Dr. Gilbert, who is the mastermind behind all of this nonsense. So before we do anything else, we've got a boss fight. It's one of these jet guys. But these are much harder than the ones that you fought in Streets of Rage 2, from what I remember. Similar attack pattern, but bigger health pool and faster. And if I remember right, the black ones will just keep respawning until you take out the purple one. I think. At least that's the way it was in the Western version. Maybe the Japanese version doesn't respawn. I don't know if it does. There they are. There's one of them anyway. And there's the other one. Yeah. So they will respawn indefinitely if you don't take down the main villain. He's almost done. This wasn't as difficult as I remembered. This whole game isn't as difficult as I remember. I'd heard that the Japanese version was easier. I didn't know it was this much easier. Saying that, I'm about to drop a continue, I think, so it's not that easy, but... Okay. So these guys will all now just fly off. And there's Adam to give us a helping hand. Just in the nick of time. So, with Adam here and the General rescued, it's now time to go after the Syndicate's base. So round 7 begins. So first of all, we got to go through this park to reach the Syndicate's main lab, where they're making all the robot clones and things. Those little circular holes in the floor, do not stand on those because those are traps. They will whip you up into the air and take away quite a bit of health, so avoid them. Well, that's right, the bikers are back in this level as well, I forgot about them. So the yellow ones go down pretty easily, but the green ones, the grey ones, the blue ones, they all have a bit more health. So it takes multiple attacks to knock them down. Down. It would have been nice if that had been the end of the level, but it isn't. So, like I say, we're probably going to drop a continue in a minute. Okay. Oh, yeah, got caught in the trap. Oh, I've still got 1 life left, of course, because 0 counts as 1 life in this version. I forgot about that. In the other Streets of Rage games, it was 1, then you had to continue. Whereas this time round, we have 0 as an option as well. Oh, he's going to explode. Yeah, when they start to turn radioactive, run away, because that means they're planning to self-destruct. Okay. Okay, headbutt, and then knock him down. That one's got a kind of weird yellow face. Almost sort of golden looking, that's strange. I'm going to assume it's just a graphical error, not jaundice. Although who knows what kind of experiments the Syndicate are doing on their members. Might be jaundice. Okay, into the final section now. As you can see, a lot of these Robot X's are showing up. Mr. A to Z as opposed to Mr. X, yeah. There is our mad scientist, Dr. Gilbert, in the background. Remember, if you get thrown, hold B and C and down, and if you're lucky, you might land on your feet. The ability to tech throws in Streets of Rage is a valuable skill, if you can do it. Bronze misspelled there, of course. There's always misspellings in games made in Japan, unfortunately. It's just it's a little quirk of the gaming industry that English is not their priority. Okay. We're going to try and grab that apple, but the conveyor belt is going to keep pulling us away from it. Oh, there we go. Ah, these little red things in the background will periodically shoot lasers at you. It's another thing to watch out for. Oh dear, mistimed that. See, again, it goes back to what I was saying before. It's much harder to land your special attacks in this game for some reason. Okay, we have dropped to continue. We've still got two. Let's try Blaze. Again, she still has the same battle cries as she had in Streets of Rage 2, whereas in the Western version they were changed. Which is a shame because the Japanese just sounds much cooler. They should just leave it as it is. Okay. Yeah, Blaze has really nice reach with her flying kicks, so that's very useful. Particularly against enemies like this guy. That seemed a bit unfair. He flew right under me there and I still took damage. Okay, we're going to need that chicken. Okay, he's down. And on we go. this is sort of a sub-boss. Mad Dr. Gilbert is going to try and take us out with this claw thing, which we have to periodically... Dr. Zero, sorry, alright. It said Gilbert in the Japanese, I don't know why he's called Dr. Zero. Well, I must have misread that. Sorry, guys. There was definitely some mention of a Dr. Gilbert in the cutscenes, though. So what you have to do here is keep holding down on the controller so you don't get pulled into that laser tripwire at the back of the room. It's not a difficult boss, this, it just takes time and a bit of patience. Because the conveyor belt is constantly pulling you away from the target, making it difficult to complete your combo attack, as you can see. So we just have to keep chipping away at his life bar. Thankfully we're not on a time limit here, so it's not that bad. Music is starting to grate on me a little bit though, I have to say. Okay. Almost done now. So basically, when it's flashing green, don't touch it. Wait until the smoke starts billowing out of it, then you can hit it. Like there. There we go. So that's Dr. Zero taken care of. But what's this? A brain in a jar? It's Mr. X, or what's left of him. I assume the makers of this game must have seen Robocop 2 and got some ideas. So we've got 3 minutes to destroy the last boss before the city is destroyed by a bomb. So this is Neo X. Doing okay so far. We want to take away one life bar for each minute that passes, so we're already ahead of schedule. And we seem to have got into a kind of a hit pattern here. Just keep fly kicking him as he comes on screen. Yeah, this is surprisingly easy. I'm going to do this with over a minute 30 left. Excellent. So, Neo X is destroyed, but also he's smashed into the brain in the jar, killing the real Mr. X. And so as one last sort of a evil deed, he is set off an emergency system that will destroy the entire factory. So they've got to get out of there as quick as they can. Thankfully, Adam is there for the rescue. So Adam swooped in at the last minute with his helicopter to rescue everybody, just as the entire plant went bye-bye. So our team made it out safely, and the game is clear. So the city was saved, Mr. X is no more, and our heroes can relax for a while. Well, for about 20 years until the franchise comes back again. So there's some, we're treated to some, what do you call it, art here, some artworks of the main characters. So we get Skate and Adam, who of course are brothers in the story. Concept art, that's the word I was looking for, concept art. We've got Adam and Axel training together. I think it was originally planned that Adam was going to be a playable character in this game, but for some reason they dropped him at the last minute. Don't know exactly why. And a nice flashback, they're using the music here from the end of Streets of Rage 2. And you see Blaze in her swimsuit there. For some reason in the Western version that was changed to be less revealing, although, you know, it's just a woman in a swimsuit. It doesn't seem particularly revealing in my opinion, but well. People who think it's only today that people are too sensitive about such things, well, they had it in the 90s as well. And again, you've got the assumed names of the programmers. Mr. Nobody there. But thankfully, most of this team would go on to work on other projects where they were given proper credit. Yeah, Yuzo Koshiro and Kawashima is the name of the fella that he collaborates with. Yeah, that was. I think I said Kawamura earlier on. I apologise. Kawashima is his correct name. There's Dr. Zan getting ready to leave on a trip now that his job is done. And so the game is clear. Oh, and there's a cameo by Max from Streets of Rage 2. Too bad he wasn't in this game. He was my favourite character in Streets of Rage 2. But anyway, that is the end of Streets of Rage 3, aka Bare Knuckle 3. So thank you for watching, everybody. Please stay tuned to Tartan Samurai Gaming. Lots of retro gaming content, new videos uploaded every day. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time.